So, also very warm welcome from my side. So welcome to Frankfurt. Sorry that we brought some snow. Normally in that region, not the best time of year actually, but I really cross fingers that everybody of you gets home safely today. I'm very much excited about the topic today, to be honest. Last year, I think I had my first conference in April, and then Chat GPT popped up. I hadn't heard a lot about it, and then I started actually looking more into the development. Data is nothing really new to banks. We are discussing data analytics and what can we do with our data since a couple of years. So far, no use case has really picked up, so we're going to explore today a little bit what is new technology offering us, what opportunities are out there, and how can we actually make it happen, but also taking into consideration the challenges that it brings and which obstacles we have to overcome. And luckily, I'm not alone on this exciting topic. I have two wonderful colleagues with me today. One is Simone from BNY Mellon. She has extensive experience in the payment industry, worked for Visa as well, so really glad to have you. And then Eberhard Schnebel, being a professor, actually researching here in Frankfurt, also on the topic of ethics and how we can actually look into that aspect. So we want to be interactive. So as Pascal has already said, we're going to use sliders throughout the session, and actually we want to kickstart the session with one of the sliders surveys, just to feel a little bit of the temperature in the room, to understand to what level your personal experience has been so far with AI tools. It's new to somehow, but it has been a big buzzword over the last year. So when Chat GPT started, over the first 3 months, it gained more of 100 million downloads. So that is a huge number. When you compare that, they were faster than Instagram, they were much faster than Netflix. So it seems to be a buzzword out there that attracts a lot of visibility currently in the market. And it's interesting to see that we actually have the beginners. So you have some experience with AI tools already, so it's good. But we also see no experience and just few institutions really embracing an elaborated AI strategy. And I think we're going to touch in our discussion today a little bit, why is it so, and how can we foster that to the future. So as we're just saying, AI, machine learning, those are buzzwords, but it's nothing really new. Every organization has been using algorithms for a long time. So Simone, maybe you can help us just give like a little bit of overview on where we stand and why is it so big now?
So yes, AI has become a very popular topic, in particular last year. And I think that has different reasons. One is definitely around the AI technology enhancements. So the technology really has embraced. So that's one key topic. And then probably also the public availability to it. And you already mentioned like ChatGPT and how actively it's now used by the public. Yeah. So, and that are two of those reasons why it became now such a prominent topic. On the other hand, AI has been around since quite some time. So in particular when it comes, and I think that needs a little bit explanation, so there are different types of artificial intelligence. So one is really the machine learning, so the rules-based responses. For example, is it fraud or not? That's something that we are actually using already since quite some time. But now it has evolved further, so it's more how computers and systems are using data and algorithms, as you already mentioned, to look further into new use cases like the deep learning. So deep learning is more around how can AI be like a human-like outcome. And again, here there are different layers of machine learning or AI. So one is really predicting, future outcomes. And actually having a decision around it. So is it fraud or not, for example, not only detecting it, but really also having the answer to it. And the other part is the Gen AI, so where everyone is talking about. Yeah, and Gen AI is basically creating totally new content, and it can be coming from not only like from language models like Chat GPT, can be also like pictures, or it can be videos, so all sorts of things that we are seeing. And yeah, it's evolving very quickly, and it's a very exciting topic, and it's actually something that's key now, a key topic at every conference. I was surprised, still to see that within the audience we have a lot of people still at the beginning knowledge, lesser advanced also within their organization. So, and I guess that also relates to the challenges we need to overcome, and which we will discussing later on in a little bit more detail. So a couple of comments from my side.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Simone. So Eberhard, also yourself from a research perspective have been looking into that topic since a longer time. So maybe you can explain the journey a little bit from your perspective as well.
Yeah, I'm teaching business ethics at Goethe University, and we also have AI ethics there because we have a big e-finance lab, as we call it, where we really make research on future developments. 10 years ago, I would have said, okay, future developments maybe in 10, 15 years, but now, just on what are we talking? Last year, 9 months ago, Chat GPT came up, and now they have 2 million use cases. So we will see much faster than we expect use cases for especially your businesses. And what is changing? Changing in these things is that we use massive data, much more data than you ever imagine, and that the systems can predict future developments, for example, of pricing, of businesses, of risks, much more precisely than all your experienced people can do. And the question is really, what is your job in the future? Yes, just to help AI to make business, or are you really still correspondent bankers? Yeah, and this is the development which we will see the next few years. And what are we doing in research, for example, of AI? We are looking on bargaining protocols. Notes, on bargaining notes, and analyze what are the emotions amongst professionals. Where do they fit, and how could they optimize their bargaining things? How could they optimize their let's say their spreads? Yeah, and in the near future we will have these tools where you will lose if the others have these tools and you don't, because the machine is always better than you are. And this is where we work on in AI, and this is what we will see. And the other thing is, of course, not the people's business, but the processes and the organization's business. Yes, beside the fact that we can really detect much more precisely all the fraud, yes, where we need a lot of data. We need all of how you walk, how you grab your mobile phone, how fast you grab your mobile phone. The AI can detect if you are a fraudulent customer, or if you are just a convenient customer. Yeah? And this is what we will see in future, but I think the beginning will be the next, let's say 1 or 1.5 years, that we optimize our processes, our payment processes, our, let's say trade finance processes.
So as we were already saying, I mean, all starts with data. So, and yesterday already we touched base on the trend of digitizing our trade documents. So that all means we gather much more data, and we're touching base this morning on KYC processes, where we sometimes have to screen thousands of pages just to come up with a result. So technology here can be a facilitator. So Simone, also from a data perspective, with ISO 20022, we see more data, enriched data, structured data. So what are banks doing actually to work more with it, and also to make it available for these analytics?
Yeah, I mean, data is really the foundation for AI, and also how reliable is this data? I mean, that's key, and how you use this data. and predict certain outcome with it, as we discussed already earlier. I think later on we also touch a little bit on the regulatory aspect, and that's also something to consider. I mean, you need to use the data, predict outcome, but then there will come the stage when you also have to explain probably to regulatory, from a regulatory requirements, how reliable this data is, and yes, that's right. In particular, as transaction banks, we have massive of data from the payments. Us as BNY Mellon, also of course on the security side as being the largest custodian, and then we have to see how we can take advantage of this. But it's also important. I mean, as banks, if you look into AI use cases, that you really categorize them, that you structure. So what have the most impact? How meaningful they are? Are they replicable to other use cases? Yeah, and that's something that every organization should really look into. So what problem you are actually trying to solve here, yeah, with AI, and is AI the solution for this problem?
Yeah. And that's, I think, an excellent statement that will also touch base when you think from a customer perspective. So what is the problem you want to solve and you want to tackle, and how do you bring that sort of value to the customers? Yeah. So, and at the same time, machine and people working together, I assume there's some friction also from a customer perspective. So what are banks actually doing with my data? So how do you look at this from a research and ethical perspective?
Yeah, first you have to explain what you said. The biggest question for banks is, do you have a data-based business model, which is what we had the last 20 years, or do we have a data-driven business model? That we use data to have new business, and data-driven business models need data management. Mm-hmm. And this is very important, that you know which data is important for the success of your business tomorrow. And then we are coming quickly into this ethical area, yeah? That we say, okay, maybe not all information we want to have for a successful business model, and which Amazon, Google, and all the others have, yeah, are we allowed to use? Yeah, we are not allowed to use private data from your of your family, of your personality, whatever. But they have, and they do. Yeah, we are not allowed as banks or in the finance industry, and this is what we will come later on to related to the AI Act, to the regulatory approach. We are not allowed to use these personal things to exploit our customers. Yeah, and this is what we have, what the difference is between finance and the other areas where the ethics steps in. Yeah? At one hand, of course, the regulation, so regulation is not ethics. On the other hand, how can we create trust? How can we create confidentiality? How can we create transparency? What we are doing with our data, and this is the ethics side we have to care for.
And this is actually where I would like to step in a little bit in the challenges, and there's already one question popping up here around the fears and the ethical issues around AI, because in the end it's a machine, it's algorithms that might take decisions, but it depends on the information that you feed into it. So what's your database? Is it has a high data quality? And it's sort of a black box phenomenon. You have to trust into the machine taking decisions, and also have to ensure how that is then recommunicated again to customers to create that transparency. So you've already touched base on the AI Act, so can you elaborate a little bit on how that sets the scene for the years to come?
Yeah, I mean, I can also take that. With regard to the AI Act, I guess Europe is, the jurisdiction this is far advanced in comparison to the rest of the world, yeah. So, and from a risk perspective, I mean, risk will be categorized by the AI Act in 3 different categories. So is it really an unacceptable risk? Is it a high risk, or is it a low risk, yeah? And it is supposed to go into force in 2026, but probably some of this, in particular when it comes to the unacceptable risk, will be already in force some of it going until end of this year, so at least that's expected. So this will bring new challenges also for us as financial institutions now starting taking advantage of AI solutions. When it comes to other jurisdictions, I mean in particular in the US, they're not that far advanced when it comes to an AI Act. I mean they have published a couple of papers around the risk associated to it from the financial authorities. The other jurisdiction that's quite far advanced and similar to what the EU is doing is Singapore. Yes, they are working on an AI Act, in particular also for the financial industry. So there's a lot of involvement, and that's another consideration that needs to be taken then by banks and financial institutions, how to comply to new regulation.
Eberhard, you want to add also talking a little bit on the fears and ethical issues around AI?
If you traditionally, if you speak about the fears of AI, you always hear these issues like bias, like fairness, like transparency. Of course, transparency will remain an issue, but fairness is always an issue in finance. Yes, even this is why we bargain, but it will shift. It will shift the bargaining power towards banks with AI systems. A little bit. Yeah, just if you have this sigma and this will shift. And bias is not a problem in ethical issue. It's not an ethical issue itself because you are bankers in the finance industry. We all make money with people which have money. And if people are creditworthy and if people make good business, it does not make any change if this is a woman, a black colored person, or whatever. We are finance people and we make money and not separating people. But where I think where my fears are of ethical issues is the more and more you use these pricing tools, you use chatbots, the more and more you lose the contact to your customers, the more and more you use your ability to make your own estimations on pricing. Because there is on your computer always a pricing estimation of AI. Yeah? And this is like if you use a navigation tool in your car. Yeah? If you use it for 2-3 years, then you will realize that you're not so good able really to drive on your own idea where to go. Yes, and this is where my fears are, that people are not really able to understand what we are doing in finance. This is the first fear, and this is also related to you as professionals. Yeah, because a lot of business will be done by AI. And not by you, and after several years, you will not have any more the ability to make this decision. And the other thing is that you can exploit customers by using AI in a, let's say, fair way. Yeah, because if I use AI, for example, as a pricing tool or as a willingness to pay tool, I always can rise my spreads by 2-3 basis points over average. So I'm on the good side and I can exploit you by using a AI tool, and this is where my fears are.
So, but with every good, as you were saying, comes a bad side. And also in AI, and when we look into deepfake and what is possible today, just simulating voice, simulating images, comes also a higher potential of fraud. We know that in the payment space since years, CEO fraud in the past, it was already elaborated. Now with simple tools, whoever would record us today on stage would be able to remake an avatar and then simulate our voice, our looks and so on. So this is really a danger. So how can we ensure actually also technology-wise, because fraudsters collaborate, fraudsters don't care about GDPR. They don't care if they can share information or not. They go to the darknet, they get all the information that they need. And we are sitting in committees discussing a long time, are we able to share? Is it allowed, even for the great good, to be faster than actually the fraudsters in this case? So Simone, what is your experience on that side also on the terms of collaboration?
I think it's important to have the right risk measurements in place, yeah, and in particular also, I mean, yeah, fraud is a key topic. On the one hand side, we say we want to use AI for detecting fraud. On the other side, it opens up potentially for new fraudster, like you just mentioned. So, and that's something really also to consider as an organization, what additional new impact this could have. And how you have the right risk management framework in place to overcome those hurdles.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is something where we're now seeing more and more regulation, also looking into how can we actually safely exchange data. So there are some industry initiatives really working on that aspect, because just every single bank will not be able to overcome that joint challenge. But there's also challenges on the organizational side. Yesterday we were talking a lot about change processes, and does it need to come from regulation or technology, and how you actually can bring that together. So from an organizational standpoint, Eberhard, so what are you looking into organizations? What needs to be created as sort of a culture to properly work with these new technologies?
Yeah, of course. What can you do as a bank really to have a culture where you use AI in a responsible way? This is the very stupid question. Yeah, people have to first, they have to be skilled. What is AI? How uses AI data? How brings AI the results? So that we have next year, if we come together again here in the conference, that the first bar is not anymore there. Yeah, that everybody of you is skilled about what is AI, what can AI really do? Or the question we see here, is AI integrating behavioral economics? Of course. It is integrating behavioral economics. This is the strong part of AI, why it is better than we all, yeah? Because it can rationalize these things. But how to create a culture? I think people have first to understand, and second, management has to find out what is the style. We want to integrate AI technology. What are the general principles? The general rules. This is not ethics. This is more or less the US approach, that you have law, and then you have principles, and then you have personal responsibility. But these principles are really necessary just to communicate what do you expect from your developers, from your deployers, and this is a issue we didn't talk about. Developing what we're doing at university is good. But the hard work is to deploy a working model into the processes of a bank that they really bring up the success. And there you need that the people understand the ethical side of all these issues.
Yeah, and I also would like to comment on that. So I think, and you're right, it needs reskilling, and probably in 3 phases. So on the one hand side, it's like bringing in new talent, yeah, so that you bring new skills in, and that's also a challenge, yeah, because implementing AI is like a team sport, yeah, so you need data scientists, you need developers, you need UX designers, and there's a run on those talent, yeah, so you need to attract this talent, that's one part, yeah. Then you have your existing engineering team, yeah, which you basically need to upskill, yeah, and also having the possibility, and we all have also the topic around legacy infrastructures, how to integrate it in the end. And then it's the broad part of the employees which need to be reskilled and which also need to understand the way forward and how AI can be used as a benefit, yeah. But finding the tech talent, that's probably also one of the major challenges, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And we see that universities looking more and more into these topics to prepare also the workforce of the future. So let's look a little bit more into the use cases that we're seeing. And we actually prepared a second Slido for you. So, and we would like to invite you also to join us into looking a little bit more into those use cases. So we're just waiting for the colleagues to pull it up. Excellent. So We want to ask you, what use cases do you deem most suitable for AI in banking, and on a rank from 1 to 5? Because there's multiple applications and use cases that we're currently seeing. Everybody is exploring client services, chatbots. It's like a little bit like Chat GPT, so very natural. But then also personalized financial advice, really taking your data. So the Amazon style, people who bought that bought something else. And then we have also the operational efficiency, process automation, and we also look into the compliance use cases, making processes more resilient in fraud, and AML and sanction screening, really automizing in an instant payment world where transactions need to be processed in 10 seconds. You need decisions that are taken much faster than that. You can't rely on human intervention in a lot of those processes. So it's interesting. We seem to have a lot of risk managers here in the room today because we're looking very much into the compliance use cases like fraud prevention and AML, but at the same time on the operational efficiencies, but also seeing the benefit in transaction monitoring and reconciliation. So the sales use cases are ranked last, interestingly. So Simone, is this a result you would have expected?
I probably would have, yeah. And also because, I mean, like I said earlier, we already use machine learning for fraud prevention a long time, yeah. So that's probably why. And compliance, yeah, because it's a hot topic, in particular for us as banks, to comply with all the compliance regulations. And quite interesting. So I know we also wanted to discuss later on a little bit if it makes more sense to build everything internally or if it also makes sense to partner up with certain providers. We as BNY Mellon just had recently in December an announcement that we are working together with Behavivox, which is basically a company working on AI compliance solutions. So, and we have decided now to look jointly with them together into use cases. So compliance is, of course, a big topic for everyone, and that's probably why we have seen it a result like this, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So Eberhard, so from your experience, is this a limitation of the use cases, or does it really go much more broad and beyond? You talk also about behavioral scoring. So there might be some use cases that we see now, but what is really the development up for the future?
Of course, this query reflects somewhat at the moment that the use cases we really can use. Fraud prevention. We are obliged by law to use their modern technology and don't tell it to the customer. Yeah? And we also gain a lot of money because if we prevent fraud, then we have less losses. So the next thing is then related to the AI Act. The AI Act tells, in short, whenever you deal with customers, with people, with private persons, then you are not really allowed to use this modern technology, in short, yeah, as a bank, because we are a high-risk industry. Yeah, this is in short. So we will really see process optimization. We will really see maybe document analysis. This is where we work on that we understand a huge amount of documents to gain information out of it. But what will we see in future? I believe in future we will really much more see these behavioral issues, because a chatbot is only successful if he really chats with you in a familiar way, so that you feel well. Yeah. If you always you all have this experience. If you talk to a chatbot and you think, oh God, yeah, I'm happy if this time is over. So, but in some banks you really have to talk to chatbots. Yeah. We will really see these things, and the other thing is we will really see, for example, robo-advisors. We will really see pricing tools which are automated, which are different, and maybe one of the biggest, talking about skills, difference between our work in the past. This was econometric work. We used data to make causality assumptions. And then the future thing is we use just data to make probabilities to just to look into the glass bowl, where the pricing is going to, where is the risks are, where are the risks going to, where's the market going to. And by the way, a AI or a machine learning system is doing it much more better than the best experienced people of you. Much more better. Yeah? And with much more efficiency. And this is what we will see, that we have these I think I would say most of it is such pricing tools, and for bargaining reasons, willingness to pay tools, that I exactly know as a banker, if I have to bargain with you, that I exactly know what is your pricing assumption, and then I can go to the upper level. And you're happy at the end that you received your pricing assumption. This will be one of the most maybe dangerous things.
I would like to pull in one of the questions from the audience here, which is on, I think the first one we already answered, so I would go to the second one. Which application do you see for Gen AI in the short and long term, and what advice could you give to banks to start experimenting or implementing the technology in the coming years? So Simone, if you would like to take that.
Yeah, so I think it's also financial advice could be one of them for customers based on historic data and market data and economic data, how things are developing. So that could be also one part, the financial advice, but also the whole onboarding process, KYC, and that's another use case that could really well fit through AI going forward, and also all the topics around when it comes to content creation. Yeah, so that's another key topic where AI will be capable to do it probably much better than any human. Yeah, so to still keeping the human, of course, in the loop. Yeah, that's key. Yeah. But still, content creation is another key topic, and we talked about already all the other use cases when in particular comes to fraud or manual intervention that the machine could do and could free up humans for other more important tasks. Yeah, so we already touched on that. So that those are probably the most prominent use cases.
Thank you. And Eberhard, maybe to you, the second question: are we traditional banking industry ready for truly leveraging AI and accepting try and error during the learning process?
Some banks are really. We talked about your bank, and as I noticed, maybe your bank is really working on such things, and you have created a AI readiness culture. Let's say like this. Yeah, and I know also that here in Frankfurt, ING Bank is really doing a very good job. Also, Commerzbank, as I realized. Yeah, this is really dealing with an AI-ready culture. They know what is coming up. But I believe that most bankers are not thinking in cases of data-driven business model, but more on data-based business models. They think they make credits, they make finance, they make structured finance or whatever, investment banking, M&A, whatever, and use data just to make their traditional business. And the switch is really that they really think on what is our data and how is our data creating the business model, because I really will believe finance is the first industry which is capable to be overwhelmed totally by AI use cases. Maybe it takes another 2 or 3 years, but we will see more and more AI in finance much earlier than we will see self-driving cars in the automotive industry. Yeah. So this is are they ready? No, they aren't. Yeah, they just make traditional finance, and we don't need them in the future. Yeah, the small banks making traditional finance are the same kind of business than small libraries still selling paper books. If you go into the shop, of course we will have them and we will see them in 100 years, but not not so much than we do today.
I think the core here is really be prepared, understand what's going on, look into the trends in the market, and really create a culture that you need, not only to look into isolated use cases, but really to understand it holistically, where comes the data from, how can you facilitate that also in your organization. So before we come to the closing, I would like to pull up one one last question. Let's maybe pick that one on the regulation side. How do you see the risk of Europe losing competitiveness over-regulating AI? So I think that's an interesting aspect. Simone.
Yeah, and like I said already earlier, yes, of course, Europe as a jurisdiction is far advanced now on this, but nevertheless, I mean, the others are looking into this as well, and as I outlined earlier, also the US with certain recommendations already, but even not an AI Act yet, yeah, and other jurisdiction will follow. So, so I guess it will, in the end, everyone will be impacted and not just Europe. But of course, if we are ahead now at the game, it probably could have an impact, yeah.
Eva, do you agree?
To the,
yeah.
I think, yeah, maybe we lose, we have to establish all the 3 levels of AI models. Yeah, we have to establish our own foundation models. We have to establish our own use cases and then our own applications. And if we only rely on the applications at the end, these are the 3 levels, by the way, which had been discussed for the EU AI Act. Yeah, if you only, then we lose really competency. Because in my opinion, the financial sector will switch over from a more and more personally driven, relation-based business to a more and more technically based. And if you don't have the foundational side, then we are not competitive anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation. So as we close every panel at BAFT with a call for action, so from your experience, what would be your recommendation really to banks to be able not only to be driven by that change or leave that to other market participants, but really to take an active role also in embracing data and AI as part of the business model?
Yeah, so I think now we are at the stage where it's not revolutionary anymore, it's more an evolution, yeah, and everyone should consider taking a part of it. And I think we discussed this already earlier, which you also confirmed. It's really finding the right use cases, yeah, looking into it, analyzing, making sure they have a return on investment or they are scalable, yeah. So consider all these factors, classifying, prioritizing. But it's of course key that everyone needs to look into it, needs to upskill, reskill, find new talent, and see what AI can do in the future to make the customer experience more seamless, and also to look more in detail on this predictive outcome for certain solutions.
Thank you. So Eberhard, your call for action.
Yeah, no, of course. I think we spoke about it. The most important thing is create a digital culture, AI culture in your company. That does not mean that everybody of your employee should think about what can I change in my environment, but he has the obligation once a week to listen to a video which explains a new aspect of AI that they really understand. There is coming something new, and we really have to sharpen our mind. What is coming up? So we need really a mindful AI thinking. This is the most important thing, and maybe these principles we talked about, that you have this AI culture. Yeah, this helps that people speak about it, that people are aware of it. And then if the management some days will decide on, okay, we switch our business, then the people are ready. And if the people are not ready, if they never heard about willingness to pay tools or fraudulent AI or money monitoring AI, then it will be complicated. So create this mindfulness, this mindset, this AI mindset amongst your people, that as soon as you as managers or as the company management decides, now we switch, that the people are ready. Because then it's too late to hire them, yeah, and yeah, talk about them. What is, I don't know, we could make the same query on who knows what embedded finance is. Who can explain decentralized finance in 2 sentences? Yeah? These are the things we are really working on. Decentralized finance, embedded finance, other things. Yeah, which will change all our business. But this is what we have to talk about, and people have to be ready that if it comes, they say, hey, let it come.
So thank you very much for sharing your views, and thanks to the audience really to actively participating. I love your questions. You can see it's really a dynamic development in the industry, so I hope you can take away some insights from the discussion today. And my call for action really, be prepared, and when we come back next year, I hope all of you can rank yourself as experts. So thank you very much, and I wish you still a wonderful conference. Thank you so very much.